Hey everybody, it's Michael. I'm back again with another video, although today I'm afraid it's only, quote-unquote, an expansion overview for an expansion of a game that I've already done a walkthrough for, and that is for Brügge or Bruges, and the expansion is called Brügge, die Stadt am Zwin, which translates as Bruges, city upon or at the river Zwin. And thematically, the river is one of the factors that allowed Bruges to prosper back in the time that the game is set in. And in this box there are 4 expansion modules that you can use pretty independently of each other. There is one dependency between 2 modules, and those 4 modules are material for a 5th player, then a bunch of new cards, the river, and the stock market. I should also mention, obviously this is a German version, and so far this is the only version that is available, although Siemens Games will put out an English version of the expansion in the 3rd quarter. So without any further ado, let me give you an overview of everything that comes with the expansion. Have fun! So this is everything that comes with the expansion, and now let's take a close look at these components in the context of the different modules. First of all, we have the material for a 5th player. For this we need this extension board. We can ignore the river for now. You have a gatehouse and you have the canals, as with every other player. Then you have the material that the 5th player actually needs: 2 markers, a 50-100 point indicator, these 2 seals, and the majority markers, as well as some reference cards. And then you have just a little bit more of the other stuff: thread markers, canal tokens, and workers. There's no additional money. The rules from the expansion say that the money should be sufficient. And finally you have additional statue markers, which are now more valuable than the ones in the base game, and you just stack them with the others, starting with a 9. The next module is the river, from which the expansion also gets its name. For that you will need the 30 ships in the 5 different colors. You shuffle them, put them in a stack, and flip the topmost ship face up. During gameplay, in the second phase, if one of the dice shows a 3 or 4, then you put the boat of the appropriate color onto the river. So let's just assume that among the other rolls we had a purple 3, a yellow 4 and a red 4. Then we'd take the purple, yellow and red ship, and they would be available or active this round. The others would stay the same, but we'd also flip up the next ships of each color so you can always see what will be available. Then during the turn, whenever players use a card to put down a canal, and only if they use a card, not if they activate a person or something, then if they want, they can use one of these ships by paying a worker of the appropriate color. And the important thing is that the boat isn't used or something, other players can use it as well. So for example, let's say the blue player uses a card, plays down a canal on, for example, the space, using a red card, pays 1 money, and then if he wants, he can give up a purple worker to use the effect of this boat. And the effects are the same for each of the colors, so basically there are 6 different effects. This one allows you to activate a person with a one-time effect again. This one allows you to discard 2 threat tokens and gain 1 point for each of them as usual. This one allows you to draw a card from one of the 2 draw piles and immediately perform an action with that card. This one will just give you 6 money. This one will give you 3 workers, and each worker can have any color you like. And finally this one lets you increase 1 rank on the reputation track. Then when the turn is over, the active ships are discarded, whether they are used or not. In the next round, if there are 3 or 4s again, new ships will come out, and if one of the stacks should run out, then you'll just shuffle the discard pile again. The next module is the stock market, which consists of these 12 cards and these 6 action tokens. At the beginning of the game, you shuffle all 12 cards, put them face down, and at the beginning of each round, you reveal the top card, and then put as many action tokens on there as the number in here indicates, which is either 5 or 6. So for example, if we were to draw this fixed prices card at the start of a round, we'd put all 6 action tokens on there. And these 12 cards all work the same. There are 2 cards for each of the 6 basic actions you can take in the game: taking money, taking workers, playing a person, build a canal, build a house, discard a threat token. And during the round, whenever a player uses a card to perform one of the actions, only if you use a card, not if you get to perform the action through other means. If the current stock market card shows an enhancement for that action, and if there are still action tokens on there, then he can get a bonus, and one action token is discarded until there are none left, or if at the end of the round there are still tokens on there, then the card is simply discarded and a new one is revealed in the next turn. And let's start looking at those cards. The one that enhances the money taking action first. The first one is usury or profiteering. So the next 5 players who would perform the action of taking 1 to 6 money get 2 money more. Then we have fixed prices. Here you get 5 money no matter what the die roll actually says. Then we have the ones for the workers. The first one is economic upswing. The next 5 players who take 2 workers get an additional worker of any color. Then we have multi-talent or all-rounder. The 2 workers you take don't have to match the card that you use to perform the action, and they also can have different colors. Then we have, I guess, genius, which enhances playing a person card. The next 5 players who perform the action get to activate the person they played immediately, and this additional activation doesn't cost anything and also doesn't count as having activated the person on this turn. Then we have motivation. When you play a person, you can draw a card from the deck. Then we have the canals. The first one is building materials. You have to pay up to 2 money less when building a canal, but never less than 0. Then we have a crane. Here, when you build a canal, you don't have to match colors. So basically you can use any card. It doesn't have to match the color of the next piece of canal. Then we have enhancements for the building action. The first is, I guess, magnificent buildings. Whenever you build a house, you immediately get 1 point. This one is a cottage or a shack, I guess. When you build a house, you actually don't have to pay a worker. And finally, we have the one for discarding threat tokens. The first one is insurance. When you discard threat tokens, you get an additional point. And then we have an emergency plan. Here you can discard any threat token. It doesn't have to match the color of the card you played. And finally, we have the additional persons. As I said before, if you're playing with a 5th player, you have to use the additional persons as well, because otherwise there wouldn't be enough cards. And you just shuffle those in with the cards from the base game. Then during the setup, you make 6 different stacks of equal height, and then use as many of those stacks as there are players, put them into the card dispensers, and put the other ones aside. Okay, now let's actually look at those new persons. The first one is a revised version of the engraver. There was a huge discussion whether the old one was overpowered. It now only costs 9, but he only gives you 1 victory point for each different group of persons in your tableau. The rules say you can choose whether you want to use the old one or the new one. Don't use both in the same game. Then we have an entire new group of persons, which are called the Travelers, and they have this little ship symbol, and basically their cards can be divided in 3 different categories. The characters from the first group of Travelers all have the same ability. You can search the discard pile for a card, then you have to pay a worker of that color, and you're allowed to build that card into your tableau as a building. And as you can see, there is 1 for each of the 5 colors, and basically the names of all these travelers are different nations. So for example, this is a Greek, this is an Egyptian, an Englishman, a Dane, and an Italian woman. The next set of travelers also all have the same ability. They are also activated by workers. I didn't mention that with the previous group. And their effect is that once you activate them, you can play your next card as if it had the color of your choice. And then finally, these have all different abilities. This one, I think, copies an effect that all the other categories of persons had in the base game, that you get 2 money for each person of the category that the card belongs to, in this case the Travelers. And the same for her. She gives you 2 points for each Traveler in your tableau at the end of the game. This guy lets you take 2 money for each threat token of a different color that you have in your tableau. This person gives you 1 point each time you increase your rank. She lets you use a person in the tableau of an opponent, but no end of game persons. She lets you take 1 money for each differently colored worker. Then for each of the categories from the base game and the Travelers as well, we have 1 card that allows you the same thing, which is, as a one-time effect, you get to search the discard pile for a person of the same category that the actual card is from, and then you can place that person into a house in your tableau for free. And for the effects that allow you to look through the discard pile, the rules have changed a bit. Basically everybody may look through the discard pile at any time, and this is the last set of persons, and they also have different abilities. The Puppeteer lets you activate a person in your tableau for a second time this turn. The Lord lets you take back as many persons as you like from your tableau into your hand. The, I guess, Hangman or Executioner allows you, once you activate him, to put one worker on this card, and then at the end of the game you get 1 victory point per worker on the card. The Lay Brother, for each one that was rolled, you get 1 worker of the appropriate color. The Glass Artist gives you 1 point for each traveler in your tableau. The, I guess, some kind of trader allows you once per round to put a worker back in the supply, and for that you get as many coins as the die of the same color shows. The Tanner allows you to return up to 5 workers of different colors, and for each worker that you return to the supply you get 1 coin and 1 point. The Master of Ceremony allows you to draw the topmost card of the discard pile and use it for an action immediately. The Militiaman allows you to call a color before the dice are rolled in phase 2, and you don't get a threat token of the color you called. The Saboteur lets you draw 1 card from each of your opponent's hands. And the Strategist allows you to give 1 of your threat tokens to each of your opponents, but you don't get any points for them. So, I hope you enjoyed this overview of the expansion. Hopefully I could give you an idea of what you can expect if you buy the expansion. Of course, if you want to play the game with 5 players, then the module that allows you to do this is a pretty good reason to get it, and the other modules definitely increase the replayability and the variety of the game, and also, at least in my opinion, they help mitigating the luck of the draw. And I guess that's everything I have to say. So we're already at the end, and as always, have fun playing, thanks for watching, and until next time. Bye bye!